Aloha guys, JohnRemus.com TV checking in. Concepts relevant to politics and money. Super breakdown in effort though here to make things accessible and comprehensible and not confusing and not abstract and not adding to the unknown where, people are trying to make things happen and do something good for the country or the world, and then they see all this politics and all these millions of dollars or debt or whatever it is, and then they don't understand how it works. Well, the first thing to consider is just a general starting point of responsibility and rightfully owning things, rightfully earning services, products, being able to experience things in such a way that it's like you actually deserve it. It should be yours. You worked for what you earned. And here's where money, it's like money gives the false impression, the illusion that you can do whatever you want and buy whatever you want and be happy and joyful if you have whatever money that you need. And the reality is it's not what you're doing, but it's who you're doing it with. A lot of dreams, sometimes people make the mistake of having their dreams and their ideals associated with only having a high salary or only having costly products and luxuries and vacations and fancy dinners and all this stuff. So part of it is orienting yourself such that you are thinking of richness and the thing that's behind money, the thing that makes money. Industriousness, obviously financial savviness as well, responsibility, determination, creativity, resourcefulness, prudence, self-control. These are all things that create money, that make a currency strong. But even expanding beyond that is like, what's it could be nice to live in a particular place and make a currency strong by contributing to, making the community nice and strong. But guess what? There's also this whole idea of, well, if you do that, then you're gonna do what? What about the world? And so then there's the idea of how to make the world better, how to eliminate poverty. And what I'm going to get into here is easy things to do. I want people to think of politics and government and money in terms of what can you easily do about it. Now, thinking first of all that you don't have to be wealthy in order to know how to work with money. If you're specifically talking about investing, and some people think that interest and investing is all bad and it's all however they describe it, it's against their religion or they think it's whatever. No, investing is how big projects happen. Investing is how some people buy their homes or get loans and banks invest, and you can build a huge skyscraper, with this money. You need, and then everyone wins. Interest is made as long as the project is successful. And then there's such things as insurance. Insurance to me is a strange thing, but it's also a relevant thing. But you've got to realize something about stuff like insurance is, even though it's good, or it can be good, like, people who are real estate agents insurance agents and such, or even other things like attorneys, doctors, they're whatever they do. In an ideal society, will you need these people? And when I say ideal, I'm referring to a homogenized society. And I don't mean that everyone has to be all Caucasian and have one particular culture, or like in Japan, it's really homogenized. A lot of Japanese people this. I'm saying that people can be world citizens, and they can have all types of interests, but yet perhaps there be a universal language, perhaps English, and then measurement, metric, and instead of this strange system we use in America. And by the way, even terms like analyze. A lot of this has to do with semantics, saying that, oh, my government, or the government, or they should do something, or, look at the semantics and see where the responsibility lies. We should use metrics. Maybe I personally, should use the metric system, for example. And then saying that some people say that, oh, the government's supposed to take care of stuff. Oh, they're greedy, blah, blah, blah. Or the elitists, or whatever, the Illuminati, however terms they use to describe the people greedy. Oh, they're greedy. Well, guess what? How about being the responsible party and saying, all right, maybe they may be greedy, but guess what? I'm going to not be greedy. And when I can afford to, and that's another big thing, when you can afford to do something, that is a tremendous concept. When you can afford to do, you'll do it. You'll take some time to think about politics and what laws and what you think should happen in your community, with whether you think more borders should be built, a wall, whether you think there needs to be more or less in the defense budget. Which, by the way, why is the country spending so much of its tax dollars and to have all this military and all this elaborate stuff, and talking about we need to have nuclear weapons. Like, that doesn't, nobody wins with nuclear weapons. What's the, like, the United States says, some country, Iran, North Korea, should disarm. Why don't you disarm first, United States? This is politics, but getting back into this general theme of, and by the way, on politics, guess what? People, should, if they want to be in Congress or significant office positions, mayor, governor, president of the country, these should be people who are financially secure, such that they have that stability. They don't need to accept any form of payment, except maybe occasional dinners to celebrate, and security and transportation, Air Force One, whatever. But their own actual, who they are, they shouldn't be corruptible. They shouldn't need other people to pay for them there shouldn't be any question of, this person, they might be getting money from a company and lobbyists to promote certain agendas. No, it should be them and their truly wanting to serve the people of the country that they're in office in. Actually be a public servant, be somebody who is diplomatic, who is representative of responsibility, and who is also has their opinions and is an individual voter. There's this concept of, we should make the country, what about taxes, what about Social Security, what about Medicare, what about whatever. And how do you make sure there's no inflation and all of that stuff, right? All of that stuff. I'm gonna try and work that here. I'm gonna try and work it. So first of all, as we know, things begin in the microcosm, then expand into the whole country, the macrocosm. So of course, it would have to start with people being financially stable in their own lives, and but also, like I was referencing back to other points, easy things to do. Why not spend less money on the military? That's like a gross amount of the government's budget, and what is that even? People building planes and tanks and weapons, and use the U.S. government using it all across the world to promote some type of agenda of industrial complex, or trying to just have guns and all this oil, all this crazy. In fact, a lot of it depends on the idea of oil, but there are alternatives coming out, and not just the ones you know of, not just nuclear and solar power, but there's other things worth looking up. We're talking GEET technology, GEET technology. You can look that up. It's a plasma reactor that greatly increases fuel efficiency, which makes it less. You need to buy much less fuel. Then you have the MagRev technology, which is also good to look up. It's dealing with how magnets can spin forever if they're countering each other. And then you have just things like less energy usage. Cities, people moving towards the city and not having to travel long distances and put a lot of wear and tear on their vehicles. The incorporation of train systems for transit. Less building and constant, this whole idea of, we have to have a strong economy, lots of spending. Maybe not. Maybe there can be other forms. Maybe there can be trades. Maybe we've got a lot of buildings and vehicles spent, and we just have to maintain and upkeep them. If a lot of vehicles and buildings made, and we just have to maintain and upkeep them, and we can just have a nice society and use less. And another thing, you hear this whole idea of local. There's this whole idea of local, economically, sustainability by local. Well, what that basically means is using less gas in order to transport something from one place to the other. But another big thing is to look at is veganism, because if you watch this, there's something called a Cowspiracy, which is a film that hints at the blatant reality of the high cost of meat and dairy production. Another big deal. And so I've hit on a few good points here. I've hit on, people in high positions in government not accepting money, individual responsibility, looking at the semantics you use instead of saying they should do this, say, what can I do? Another big point, though, and also the veganism is a big point. Another big point, however, is, and then the sustainability, living more minimally. Like, people what happens is if you identify with all these costly, you think you need to go on vacations, have new cars and this and that, that puts a lot of pressure on yourself to work hard to make it, and for other people to work hard to give it so that you can experience it. See, don't think about things in terms of money. That's the illusion. The reality being, okay, was this a fair trade item? Did I rightfully earn it? Are you working hard, just as much as effort as, say, you want a fancy watch? Did you put in the effort it took to make the watch? You want a fancy dinner? Are you actually, and then there's this kind of other thing of, I wish I get quick money or easy money or more money than others, or this subconscious desire that, I wish someone would give me money. That has to be examined and addressed and transcended so you can experience a stronger experience in life. And with the goal should be, okay, here's the thing. People think that you need money in order to have a nice marriage or dreammate relationship, and that's not the case. You can, many of your dreams can be non-related to costly things. Like some people, their dreams are, oh, own a fancy home, or go and travel the world, blah blah, nice car. But the reality is, your dreams can be other things, like, we'll both write a book together, or we'll, whatever, do sports. Obviously, there are whole things that people could do. Like me, for example, fashion. Fashion is one way term of it is, it's like the poor man's vice, quote unquote. But I don't really like to use the term poor. I like to use the term maybe financially limited, because money is only a tool. Like, you don't necessarily need a lot of money to do something, or maybe you do. I don't know. But what about feeling joyful? How much does it cost in order for you to actually achieve that experience of joy? And if you can actually realize that, you might like refinement in your life, which I do, and you may have to pay for it in different ways. But like I was saying, like fashion, you can dress up very nicely. You can buy even fancy fabrics and make fabrics just like, I don't know, see all these high-end designers or what have you. You can pay somebody to make it for you and mimic all these fancy designs. And obviously, they say made in China. Well, there's a lot of good stuff made in China. A lot of replicas of other costly things. And all this considered, things progress, but let's make them progress in a way that progress in a manner such that we start to just homogenize as a global. We think of yourself as a global citizen, using global currency of trade, of kindness, and with the aim being, if you want to do something, if you want to have children, you need to be financially prepared to do so, right? If you want to do something, don't expect other people to do it for you. If you need money, right? Don't be like, oh, I wish, even things like student loans, like maybe not. Think about it. Think about, maybe you want a few years experience. Maybe you don't need a university. Maybe you can study by yourself. Maybe that's just a box, a set of buildings with professors that's costly to maintain the buildings and stuff like that. And there's all this cost there. At the end of the day, the decisions you make should be based upon the decisions you can afford to make. So you shouldn't, like, for example, if you can't afford a fancy thing or a restaurant or going to university, you may not make a good decision if it's not your money. See what I mean? Like, if you make decisions as if it was your money, then you're gonna have different decisions. However, if your decisions are made based upon it's not your money, if someone else is making, like if someone invites you to a dinner, for example, you might, if they're paying for it, you might eat differently than you might otherwise eat. So just keep that in mind and realize that in order to experience joy in your life, you don't need much money. You need to be careful about when and if you do take on the responsibility of children, and this will lead to a stable world with no poverty. The whole idea of giving to the poor I don't think it's such a good idea, in the sense that, maybe education, but in the sense that if you give poor people in different countries money and food, then guess what happens? They just use that and they have more kids, but it's all based upon an unsustainable foundation. They're not They're not farming their own things, or maybe they are. It's um, I mean, maybe vaccines are good. I think they are, but maybe people, for example, maybe people are having, they're having engaging in physical intimacy outside of marriage, and that's resulting in a population spreading AIDS, for example. So the cure, there are multi layers and levels of solutions. The, 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 the thing being education and communication, though, just working all of that, and self-control. I'll conclude with that. It's as simple as one, meeting your own basic needs. That's the first chakra. If you're hoping for somebody else to meet your basic needs, you are going to be like their child, and you don't want that. In fact, I don't even refer to people as my parents or uncles or anything. I think those are all terms that imply authority, and this is all about. It should all be about being your own authority. And then you have your second chakra. This would resolve a lot of problems of unwanted pregnancies, and this is simple as using masturbation to use the orgasm to activate that chakra, that second chakra. Then you're not relying and hoping for other people to do it for you. And you have the third chakra. Third chakra has to do with your emotional needs. And if you attach, for example, money, as a child, you may have received money and instantly all you did, you spend it all to get snacks or clothing or whatever. Then you may have to look at the psychology of it and say, well, maybe I can get excited about saving money and having some financial security, or cutting certain things out of your life. Like, for example, I eat a low-cost diet, and I'm still healthy. The theme should always be joy, and that may mean working 10 hours a day to support a family. That may be joy for you. Joy may be, like for me, for example, I see there are billions of people in the world, so there isn't this biological imperative that we have to procreate right away in order to perpetuate the populations of the species. But there is, however, this I think burden on people who are in the know, people in first world societies, like the ones that, if you're viewing this, and you're likely in a first world society, country. These are places where you have to see the world for what it really is, and see the problems in the world, and want to make a change in a positive way, because you can easily see, these people don't have filtered water, so find a way to invent a system that allows them to filter it inexpensively. Or perhaps farming, or perhaps I come up with these ideas of how people can have satisfying and meaningful relationships and live like royalty, regardless of if their budgets aren't that significant. And by the way, I do have this clause. I'm going to conclude with this, because I think relationships are so relevant to money and politics, because if you have that stable structure, that's more important. It's more important to figure out your relationship with yourself and your needs, desires, and wants before you can even think about stuff like, I want to improve the world and help, make politics, blah, blah, blah. Before you do all of that, you've got to have your own life locked in and feel good about your own life and your own, say, spirituality, what have you. And in order to do that, you're gonna have to realize in this world we can choose or not choose to have children. And if you do want to have children, it's my encouragement for people to basically they should only do so with a person. How do I say this? If you want to have children, I encourage people to have the house, have the financial stability before they get into it, before they get into the relationship. Because I have other videos that explain how, a lot of life, okay, should be about the getting towards joy, but it also should be about efficiency. It should be about how do I most efficiently make some money, obviously in an ethical way. It should be about how do I most efficiently find a good match for marriage. What is the easiest way to get educated on a specific subject? Like for example, if you want to be a doctor, an attorney, maybe it's better if you just study the law and in your house and publish articles to inspire some other attorneys or politicians. Like think about what's the best thing that you can do, and that will, but make it relevant and try to stay current on the news. Try to stay familiar with, okay, what's going on in countries. Are there problems? Are there crises? What are the people doing? What are the negatives? What are the positives? And try to obviously circumnavigate the news to see what is actually genuine and not fake or too opinionated news. So all these to consider. Thanks for considering, and let's progress onward. Aloha.